I wanted to be a badass woman who knows what she wants, who is confident in her choices. I wanted to be her. The girl in me was just still too afraid to speak up because I was afraid to step on anybody's toes. I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Girl, what are you doing? Get up. Get up, get up.
I've actually heard you say that you didn't actually have a backbone and you would let people push you around. And what I want to know is, how the hell did you end up breaking all the nice girl habits in order to start saying no, to start drawing boundaries, and to start actually standing up for yourself and letting go of all the expectations that have been put on you?
I've lived a lifestyle where it was very programmed of how to carry yourself or how to survive in this industry. So having a backbone wasn't really an option for me at the time. So I was used to people making decisions for me or telling me, oh, you have to do this, you have to do it. And there's times I didn't want to. So just being pushed around so many times, it was difficult to understand. I mean, no one could really understand that I didn't want to do certain things. But when it came down to my music, of selecting songs that was supposed to be on my album, that was supposed to release in 2020, that's when I kind of put my foot down and I said, no, this is not how I want to release my first album. That's not my sound, or that's not my story. That's kind of where I put my foot down finally, because I got sensitive with what I create. You can push me around everything else before, but when it came to the music, that's when I said enough. That's not where you're gonna push me. It was that, and I will say also, it came with like my relationships, like who my friends were. I mean, it was also sometimes selected of like who I can hang out with, or who I date. It was also handpicked, and so there's so many layers to this that no one really understood or would ever see, because I never spoke about it out loud. And when COVID happened, was announced, that's when I was like, this is when I say enough. This is when I say no more. And the first step of saying no was actually to my mom. And as much as I love my mom, she was the backbone. She was the one that helped me stay well put together and helped me figure this out, figure this lifestyle, and carried me through. But at some point you become a woman and you start figuring out your own identity, and saying no to her was the hardest thing I ever had to say to her. I mean, I grew up always saying yes. I'm the oldest of 8 kids. And coming from that background, there's a lot of obedience that comes with being the oldest, and forgiving your siblings if they do something wrong. Having the expectations of always being on and never falling with your family or in the public eye, because everyone's watching. Everyone's watching your every move. So that's when I said, I'm done with this. I want to fall. I want to cry. I want to be imperfect. I don't want this perfect lifestyle. I want to just be human and just feel things and cry and get ugly with things. I don't want to always be on. I mean, I've lived this career for so long, since I could remember, that I just wanted to, like I said, just be human and understand what that meant.
All right, girl, we're going to go deep, because everything you just said, you started off right with like, you were the yes person, you would let people push you around, you would do songs or do things that didn't necessarily align, you were keeping it in. And then to go from that to being the obedient daughter, the eldest of 8, that you had to be forgiving and all of these things, to then saying to your record label I no longer want to do these songs. These are the songs I want to do. To then say to your mum, no, to actually stand up to your mum. I want to really go deep in that gap, because that's the gap. That's the gap that holds so many people back. And if you didn't make that 1 step, that 2 steps, that 3 steps to then lead you to where you are today, you may have got stuck there. And that's where so much of my audience come from, where they want more. They know they've got these dreams, that yearning, but they don't actually feel they have the confidence to get started. How did it feel where you felt like you had to stay silent? So take me through that feeling and then what your internal dialogue was saying to you.
So I wanted to become this pop star, superstar at 11 years old. And with that, I had parents who wanted to help me make these dreams come true. So, they're just learning from every other artist, how they start. And they wanted to help me create this perfect image that the industry portrays. So that came with knowing what to say, what not to say on camera. And that kind of crippled me because when I'm on camera, I don't know what to say, but I'm looking at someone behind the screen and they're like, say this and that. And I was like, oh, okay. Oh, can I do that again? And so I started not believing in myself in interviews. I hated interviews. Let me just say that. So me sitting here right now with you, girl, that is growth for me. That says a whole lot. I would much rather sing than speak. And I found power in speaking when I went through this emotional roller coaster. That is also my power. But yeah, going back to that time, it was little things that started in the way beginning that created this crippling thing of being in front of the media and how I carried myself. And so it's just me being afraid to make a mistake, me being afraid to say the wrong thing or sing the wrong thing. Imperfection was not allowed. I was very soft, very timid, very scared, like I said, to make any mistakes. And it all kind of, like I said, it all kind of started from home. That's where it started. It was at home, and then in the media, I was just so scared for the first time, being 15, 14 years old, breaking through with this massive girl group. I was okay with being silent. I was okay with the girls speaking up and taking over interviews. So my fans to this day, they're just like, oh my gosh, it's crazy to see and hear Dinah speak more now this time. And I'm even shocked myself, and I'm very proud of the girl I've become and not being afraid anymore and speaking my truth. Not being afraid to say no. I mean, I just got tired of it. I just said, this is so exhausting. Like, aren't you tired? Like, I was putting people's words before mine, or I was just pleasing people all the time, whether it was at home or at work, or I just got exhausted, and I realized, like, you're not being true to yourself. Tell them you're not comfortable. Tell them you don't like that. Whether
That's
it was
inside your head, you're saying.
And the girl in me was just still too afraid to speak up because I was afraid to step on anybody's toes. I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Like I said, that stems from home. Whether it was the way I dressed myself or the stylist would dress me, I would take that like, oh, I don't want to hurt their feelings, but I'm not comfortable in those pants. I'm not comfortable in that shirt. I would literally just let them dress me how they wanted. It was things like that I could still look back and be like, oh my gosh, I can finally say no. Like, I did a show in Hawaii in March this year, and I was afraid to hurt the stylist's feelings. I was so afraid to hurt his feelings because he said, oh, I made this from scratch, and this costume is going to be so nice on you. They're telling me how beautiful I looked, but I knew deep down inside, I did not feel good about what I was wearing for myself. And I sat in the bathroom, and before even telling my manager, like, I told him, like, can you go tell him that I don't like this outfit? And he's like, okay, I got you. So he's going to go tell him. Before he can even speak, that's when I say, you know what? No, we said enough of this habit. Just stop. This is where you stop it. Say complete stop to this. So I opened the door before he opened up his mouth. And I was just like, actually, respectfully, because, there's a respectful way to go about things. And I said, I am not comfortable in this. Do you have any other options? And I just like, whoo, that was like so heavy on my chest, but that felt so good. That just felt so good to just say, no, I don't like this. And he's like, yes, please be honest. So just that assurance of just being honest was like, okay, you're in the right place. Just do that. You're good.
So it's such a beautiful way you've come right now.
Okay,
that story is
you.
so amazing. Like, I also love that you didn't just let your manager do it.
Yeah.
Right, because that is also another step in your growth.
Yes.
And I don't think if you were too tense to say it yourself, I think even that first step of I told my manager to tell them is still an amazing step. Mm-hmm. And so I really want people to know it's not that you have to then jump in the deep end. Yeah. Right? Like, if you're trying to swim, you don't have to jump in the deep end. You can put your toe in the water. Then you can go in the first step. Yeah. Then you can just stand in the water.
Progress.
Right, exactly. And the progress. And so I think that's really what it seems like you have done over these last 5 to 10 years, where you've gone from growing up in this type of household where you just felt like you had to be a certain person, then been thrown into, let's say, basically the deep end with sharks, if you will, I assume in your industry.
Yes.
where now you just have to survive. And so your survival mechanisms jump in. And a lot of people at home that are listening, their survival mechanism isn't necessarily the same as yours, but we still all have those survival mechanisms where you're in an environment that you don't necessarily feel emotionally safe to speak up. You don't feel emotionally safe around your boss or around your partner. If you don't feel safe, if you feel like you're with a shark, you're so worried about even cutting yourself and then they're going to, bite you, that you're just trying to stay away from the danger. The problem is when you try to stay away from the danger, it happens exactly what you just said, is you're totally silenced.
Yeah. It hurts you more.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the one that's alone in these rooms and you're just like, why did you let that slide? Like, you're not happy. I'm the one suffering in the dark. And they're over there walking around happy without knowing that I'm suffering, or maybe they do. And they're just like, she'll deal with it. It's fine. It was even to a point where when I was exhausted by, people pleasing or taking care of others before myself, it was to the point where I didn't want to invest my time and energy and revolve it only amongst my family and my friends. I'm very, very family oriented. So coming from a Polynesian background, being a woman of her oldest family and being young and having such a strong mother figure who is like, she has no problem of telling you what it is back and forth. And I wanted to be that. At one point, I wanted to be my mom. I wanted to be a badass woman who knows what she wants, who is confident in her choices. I wanted to be her. And she was like, no, you need to be this. Just stay the quiet, humble Dinah that we know. You're good at that. Like, be you. That's what you've always been. And so, yeah, I've been that, but I wanted to be just like her, okay? Have some type of backbone, be that woman who sometimes falls, but knows how to get back up on her own. Like I said, I've always taken care of others, and financially or emotionally, I was always there for others, but not myself. So putting my foot down on that was like, oh no, who is she? This is not who we recognize. You need to be that person that we know, So it was either amongst my friends or my family or just that, even alone, because they see the real me. They were with me behind closed doors and knew who I was, the image that they loved to see. That's who I was to them. But when I was out in the real world and in the industry, I was gaining some balls, basically. Like, oh no, I need to mesh my worlds and like put my foot down, because they're not the ones out there on stage or performing in front of millions of people or releasing this certain craft. It's me. It's all me. It's all Dinah. So who's going to suffer more? Are you going to continue to suffer, or are you going to officially stand up for yourself and say, I want this, or I deserve this, and change the verbiage of like, I'm worth more. I'm not that woman anymore. So saying no was a very hard thing for me to do.
So what were the steps once you knew that, once you knew you really wanted to change, you wanted to really let that voice out, that you're the person that is going out, doing these business deals, standing on stage in front of millions of people. Did you change any habits in your day to day, or did you literally just blurt out the next time you saw your mom, the boundary?
The boundary was me completely stopping. I knew that
said, I'm done.
I said, I'm done. I don't want to do music no more. I completely, like, to even utter those words to my parents who have helped me, I will give them their credit. Like, they have helped me and have been there for me in my darkest moments before, like being in the group and traveling the world and whatnot, because this industry is not pretty. So they were there to carry me through, but they didn't understand that I was still unhappy because I wasn't making my own choices, my own decisions. So passion wasn't really there. I felt robotic with things I was doing. Like, I'm really good at putting a face that I'm happy. I'm really good at that. I mean, as a woman, we're all good at just saying, okay, yeah, sure, we'll go along with it. But really deep down inside, there are those inner demons that are catching up to you and telling you like, I'm catching up. When are you going to fix this? So me completely stopping was the best blessing, the best eye-opener I could ever do, not only for myself, but for my family, to understand and accept that I'm becoming my own woman, or that maybe these moments of me wanting to fall, I want you to see that. I want you to just accept that I'm becoming my own, and just allow me to, let me be, let me do these things. Let me break. And not only did I have to do that for my family to see, but in front of my fans. They could see that I was very absent online or absent with my craft and my music. Completely stopping with my mom and telling her that, or even within my label and telling them I'm not happy with what I'm releasing. I want this specific sound for my album, or this is my vision. I want to be myself. I want to be Polynesian, but being Polynesian wasn't popular. It was not popular. What was popular in these executive chairmen, they were saying that the vision was me being a Black Latina girl. Like that's who you are. Like you would win in those lanes, but it wasn't true to me. It wasn't true to my identity. It wasn't true to my lifestyle. And I just knew that this was completely wrong and out of place. So if no one's listening and no one's understanding the vision, if no one's understanding that I'm just a woman who's trying to figure herself out of like herself and wanting to become her own woman, then this means I need to just run. So I ran. I ran away from home. I didn't want to be home. I felt unwelcomed because people felt like I was becoming someone else. They weren't accepting it. And so I was like, all right, well, where do I go? So I jumped in a relationship that I didn't deserve, that I knew I didn't deserve. Like dimming myself for someone else is something I will never do to myself. There's just so many layers of my story that I never thought that I'd have the courage to speak out loud about. And I was okay with suffering like with it by myself and not letting anyone know about it. Because I'm really good at that. And I have been my own friend this whole time. So picking myself up in those darkest moments and being in a relationship that you know in your heart, because a woman's intuition, you just know if someone's meant for you or not. And because I was running away from home, I felt like that's what I deserved. Isn't that weird, like ironic, where because of all those things that I'm running away from work and I'm running away from family, that I need to run to something that's going to break me even more emotionally and break me down as a woman, my dignity. And it felt good. Isn't that weird?
Can you explain that?
Dimming myself for someone else or just bringing myself down to their level of just fitting in with them kind of felt like, oh, I feel seen. Let me fit in. And at the same time, though, like I said, I wanted to be human and break and fall and cry and those things. And this person brought those things to life. What I wanted, what I said out loud happened. So I was broken and I wasn't happy, but I would have much rather been there than been at home and suffering with the people that I love most. And being in a toxic relationship kind of amplified this thing in me where eventually I just said, I don't deserve this either. Why did you run away from something like that where you're running basically into the same thing? Very similar. It was a very troubled time, a turbulent time for me, but I felt like I had no one else. And so suffering in that environment was okay for me. And I knew I didn't deserve that. I feel like no woman should ever bring themselves down just to make someone feel comfortable or make them feel like they're above you, just make them feel better about themselves. So the love that I've given to people and the love that I've shared with others, it was genuine. It was real. And I am never going to be that girl again. I don't think I could ever be that or ever serve myself that way because I know now my values. And within that, I was hurting others in the process of being in this relationship or running away from home. I've hurt others that didn't deserve that type of love. There were certain people that I knew, the type of love that I knew I deserved, I was coming across within my journey of being in this relationship and family. And I knew that that's how a queen should be loved, but I didn't know how to accept it. I was okay with accepting the bare minimum. I was like, oh no, I'm cursed. Like this is what I deserve. This is my karma because I said no to my mom and no to work. And this is the type of treatment I deserve. I deserve this rather than being a queen and being treated of value.
Do you mind talking about the relationship? And then how did you get yourself out of it? Because it haunts me, and this is why I show up every day and do this show. It haunts me that people will live that life for the rest of their lives. There's another story. I heard a woman, she was like 55, and she came up to me in the street and she just started crying. And she said, Lisa, I've got 4 kids and I've been married for like 20, 30 years. I can't remember how long. And she said, I just thought I made my bed and I had to lie in it. And her husband was verbally and physically abusive, and he would threaten to abuse the children if she was singing, dancing, like he tried to control her. So much so that he would threaten to harm the children if she did any of that.
This is a true story.
Yeah, true story. She came up to me and she literally started crying because she saw one of my episodes, and she said, you started to make me believe I could have a different life. That was it. Just believe that she could have a different life, because the words that came out of her mouth was, I thought I made my bed so I had to lie in it.
Me.
So that's why when you say that, like, A, homie, you're not alone. And then B, any little nugget of gold that can help break someone else to, for you, A, you're an amazing example that anyone listening right now, they can change. They can actually believe that they deserve more. But what are those incremental steps for them to actually then not only hear it, but then believe it and then act on it?
Well, this one was such a journey. I mean, like I said, I ran into a relationship that I knew I didn't deserve. And in the process of that, it was definitely verbal abuse. It was emotional abuse. I mean, my mother didn't like the person, so I didn't know where to run to. It was a mutual thing of like, oh, well, you don't like her? Well, I like that she's here because now I can torture you. Like, I'm tormenting my mom from the other side. She's like, you need to leave. You don't need to be in that relationship. So I think my family having a huge say in any relationship that I was in kind of affected how I saw the person. I just felt like, oh my gosh, leave them alone. Like, it's okay. This person's broken and they need my help, or they need me. Maybe this is one of my missions, that they need my help to help them fix them. Maybe he didn't see himself broken, but he was broken. And I was attracted to that. I'm attracted to fixing things. And in the middle of trying to fix something, you also cut yourself in the midst of that, and you don't recognize it. But you do realize in the process of that, you become a different woman. You start crumbling. You start losing layers of what makes you a strong woman, what makes you a powerful woman, a boss. So I was okay with, like I said, dimming my light or pulling back layers that made me feel very dominant, and allowed him to be the dominant. So, red flag. It was just the way we carried ourselves. The support was sometimes there, but I think I want to say there was a mistake. I don't want to say it out loud. There was a mistake that I made. And I felt like because I made that big mistake within our relationship, that was something I deserved. That was God. That was God punishing me for the incident that had happened between us. So I felt like, oh my gosh, this is what I deserve. And this is my curse. Yep. That wasn't God. And that was my inner demons. That was not him at all, because God would have said, you don't deserve this still. You need to walk away and get up and leave. There's much better out there, and you need to heal. You need to be on your own. I wasn't listening to those voices. I was listening to the other side. And I stayed. No matter how many times I was either being cheated on or verbally abused or being accused multiple times, I felt like, no, I need to stay. Like, this is what I get, whatever. And finally, I got exhausted. I got tired of crying. I got tired of the manipulation. It was kind of narcissistic, if that makes sense. He was that to me. I just felt like I couldn't get out of it. And I will say, like, this wasn't the only relationship that kind of crippled me. There was many others before this that kind of kept me still staying the same girl, catering to a man, being wifey material. I mean, I naturally have that to me. Being the oldest daughter, I'm a provider, and I love being that image to my siblings where I'm like, oh no, I got it. I'll take care of you guys. Being that I can take care of you. Energy is what I carried within my relationships in my journey. So being like a mom to these men was so wrong. That trait. I didn't know how to allow a man to take care of me. I didn't know how to accept that. I mean, sometimes it was brought upon my journey where there was a man that wanted to be that for me, but I didn't know how to say yes. Oh yeah, do it. I was okay with being the provider and being, no, I do that. You don't need to buy me nothing. You know, sometimes it's cool being a dominant boss woman and everything. Yeah, I got my own money. I got my own this. You don't need to do nothing. Oh no, I give gifts. But this man started sending me gifts. And I was like, this is new. You know what? That's what I need. I'm always the one that's giving. I need to learn how to receive it. And the last one I was in, he didn't understand how to do that for me. Emotionally, he was there because he understood I was running away from work and my mother, but not understanding that he needed to also value me within that. He didn't know how to balance that. So eventually like I said, I got exhausted. I got tired of crying. And I said, as a woman, I said, I'm gonna get even. That's how I handle that. Okay.
Really?
I'm gonna be real.
Please
I said, I'm gonna get even.
Okay.
I'm tired of crying and no more crying. How do you make this man feel like you? Put him in your shoes through the emotional damage that you're suffering with. Okay. And I said, no more crying. Make him cry. Make him understand. Be a mirror of him. So I started carrying myself like him just to show him, like, this is what you do to me. You cry sometimes and I'll be like, doesn't feel good, right? No. So stop. Don't do that to me.
That was
I
your
could
way of
get
taking
even.
your power back. Yeah.
That was me standing up. That was like a first step. Then going around people, going around a massive crowd, they would see me and I didn't realize how beautiful I was. I was used to someone telling me, not even complimenting me. My homegirls would compliment me. I would rarely get any compliments from him. So I found my power when I was outside. And I said, this is when you don't like eyes on me. The eyes will instantly come on me once I walk out and show my confidence and show my beauty and embrace it and believe it. Key word, believe it. So that was my get even, another part 2, getting even when I'm outside in public and like, okay, people are saying, oh my gosh, what are you doing out here with this person? Like, you're too good for them. And I was like, oh my gosh, I would still be nice about it, take it lightly. That was also something that I was like, aha moment. There it is. Get home. Oh, he didn't like the attention I was getting or whatever. So part 2, that was 2. Number 3 was leaving. What led to me leaving was me getting back into this. I found music again. I said, you know what? Since I can't run into anything else, since I feel like I'm not safe with family, safe with this relationship, I think I still probably have a chance with this music and I could probably just start it again. I was still getting loved by my fans and people that recognize me in these like dingy places. Like I'm going to these little underground clubs and restaurants and I'm traveling at places and I'm still thinking no one recognizes me. Once I get to these places, people are like, oh my gosh, it's Dinah Jane. They recognize me. And I'm over here in a hoodie, or I'm like having my hair all pulled back. And I'm thinking people forgot about me. I thought people forgot about me. They don't remember Dinah Jane. And just being recognized in those little moments, in those little places, it kind of woke me up. Like, what are you doing? You have so much on your plate to do. You have so much power. There's a platform still that you can access easily with a snap of a finger. And you're back out there and voila, look at everyone. They need you. So I would have these moments to myself and listen to my music and the ones that are unreleased. And it kind of woke me up and said, girl, what are you doing? Get up. Get up. I found my strength again. I found my passion for music again. And that's where I found the strength to walk away from everything that wasn't serving me right anymore. So once you find your power, once you find yourself of what makes me happy, that's when things that don't matter start fading away and at its own time. But I think going through that turbulent time, it was also God speaking to me like, oh, well, look at this. You gained so much wisdom. Like I said, I would not be sitting here right now with you if I did not have the courage to, like, if it was 3 years ago, I would not be talking to you like this. Like, I would just give you the cookie cutter stuff and be like, oh, yeah, let's put on a face and tell you what I have planned out and da-da-da-da. But to be sitting here now on a couch with you and speaking of my story, I'm very proud of myself. I'm so proud of myself to even have the courage to speak, courage to stand up and voice my story. I lost a couple people on this journey, but then I gained them back in a different lens where we respect each other and love each other wholeheartedly in a different light where we're like, I love this new us. We needed to go through that time so we can find ourselves and understand that this is a new time and that those times were bad habits, things that we needed to erase, learn and unlearn things. Like I said, growing up Polynesian, as a Polynesian woman, being in a household of many people, I was used to muting myself or not being loud or not voicing my opinion. I had other people louder than me, so I'll just go with the flow. But now it's different. It's a different air in my household where we truly love each other and they respect my decisions and they love seeing the woman that I've become. And there were a few attempts where my family wanted to do a family meeting. And in those meetings, there was a lot of tears that were shed, a lot of I'm sorry's, a lot of things that I wanted to hear from my parents of saying, I'm sorry, owning up to things that they know that hurt me. Me exchanging that verbiage of saying, I'm sorry. The key one that I wanted to hear the most was, I just want to be your mom. I remember it like yesterday. I was like, I'm running away from my mom, running away. And I got a phone call. I actually call her and I say, Mom, there's some business stuff happening right now. And she's like, stop it. Don't even continue. She was like, where are you? I want you, come home, come home. I'm sorry. I just want my daughter back. I love you. Just come home to me. Whatever it is, Dinah, I'll let go of it. I don't want to hold you too tight no more. I'm sorry. I saw things different. And I shouldn't have. And that's what pushed me away from you. And I'm so sorry. Please come home. Stop running from me. Stop running from me. And I just want to be your mom was what made this relationship so much stronger and made the little girl in me say, thank you, Mom, for finally seeing the situation the way it should be seen. She was just so good at being a momager. I mean, she was so good at it. Much of my success goes to her because she made me the woman I am. But just hearing that as from a parent's perspective and a daughter's perspective, we're still learning. My mom's young, so she's 44, 45, and she's learning, I'm learning, and it's just all about communication. I'm glad that we went through that time where she opened up her eyes, I opened up mine. Sometimes we can be very stubborn and very prideful, like, no, this is the way it goes, And for her to finally accept that, I could not wait to race home and hug her and kiss her and tell her I love you. Because in those dark moments, even though I was in this relationship I didn't deserve, I knew that one day I was going to run to her and tell her, Mom, you were right. And I didn't want to tell her those things because of my pride. Yeah. I was like, no, Mom, I'm good. Like, I got this. I deserve this, Mom. But going back to her and telling her, like, I love you so much. And I never uttered the words, I hate you, because you're my blood, you're my mother. I will never utter those words, I hate my mother, because you brought me into this life. You made me this strong woman that I am. You've guided me through this time of like self-discovery and finding myself. Before I turned 23. And then 23 and on is when I was on it by myself, trying to figure out who Dinah is. I mean, I delayed those times many times. I kind of delayed my entrance back into the industry because I felt like I wasn't ready. I felt like I didn't even have the right team at the time. I just felt like no one understood me or were hearing me. So that took time to cultivate a team on your own. And they were handpicked. I selected people from back at home who were also Polynesian. And why not go backwards and go to people who are, go connect to your roots. You're in an industry where it's very filtered, and I just felt like I was becoming like many other pop girls, which isn't bad. Like, yes, homage to them. I love that for them. But I wanted to be different and be true to myself and bring my culture to the forefront. My music has so many stories. Like, I'm speaking of my grandmother, of how she prayed for this moment where I would be the superstar. My grandma was like, during my break, she kept telling me, when are you going to get back to work? When are you going to sing again? I'm waiting.
How did you feel about that pressure?
I told her grandma, I don't want to do it. Like, she didn't understand that. The pressure was there, but I just told them, no, in my own time, I will get up and do it. So the pressure was really difficult to kind of hold together. But I would say I think I did a pretty good job for coming this far and learning a lot about myself and the people I surround myself with. I'm surrounding myself now with winners, people who love to win, people who want to win, who have that drive and hunger of making a name for themselves or having something to stand for. I stand for my people. I stand for Polynesians. So I just did a video where I had thick, luscious looking Tahitian hair, where it was untamed. I'm always used to my hair being like well put together. She wants to be on sometimes, but I told the hairstylist, like, no, I don't want her to brush her out, comb her out. That's how Polynesian dancers look when they have their hair done. It's combed out, long, luscious, thick. And I do have that naturally. I have thick Polynesian hair. So within my image, I'm also trying to embrace that. Loving my curls, loving my color, loving my story, loving just being a curvy Polynesian woman. It's so unique and refreshing to bring this to my lifestyle in the music industry.
Dude, thank you. That was so freaking beautiful. And I felt like I was on like a whole like roller coaster ride with you as you were breaking that down. And what really stuck out to me in everything that you were saying, because I'm going to go back to everyone falls. Everybody falls. The problem is not everyone gets back up. And when you were metaphorically on your knees in this toxic relationship, you didn't have your family to turn to, or you felt like you had run away from them. You also had your culture, which I know that you had said, I believe, I pushed God away from me because I wanted to fall. And so you seem like you really were just trying to let go of everything, suffering in this silence with this ex, who's now your ex. And now in this whole transition that you just took me through, what I started to hear was you started to build your confidence. And even though you made him cry, it was you taking your power back. And as you take your power back, one step at a time, it becomes the stacking bricks that then allows you to build your house that you live in now.
Yes.
And
Amen.
that's the one thing like I always think about is that to be able to leave that, to then be able to go to your mom and say, this didn't work. And then to be able to create the space and create the boundaries so that you and your mom could have this dynamic, have this open conversation, end up hearing what you want to hear. Because not everyone ends up hearing what they actually want to hear, right? But the fact that you did is just another thing that was so beautiful. But I don't think it would have happened if you hadn't have built your confidence, if you hadn't have spoken up, if you hadn't have put in boundaries with your family of saying, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And so while that heartbreak is that you fell, it almost became the catalyst that you needed to then build yourself back up again.
It's like a rebirth.
Yeah. Like the phoenix.
Yes. Yes. That is a great example. So I came across this quote and it said, for a star to be born, there is one thing that must happen. A gaseous nebula must collapse. So collapse, crumble. This is not your destruction. This is your birth.
Ooh, you just gave me the chills. I mean, that very much applies to everything you were saying.
Very much applies to me. And I feel that rebirth. Like, yes, I had to fall and I wanted to fall. It's different if like you just fell because you couldn't keep up. But this fall was because I wanted to fall. I wanted to feel what rock bottom felt like. I mean, at this time too, in this very turbulent time, I felt like I wasn't doing enough. I mean, even before that, when I was living life to the fullest with the girls and, traveling everywhere, winning, going to every award show, I just always felt like I wasn't doing enough for anyone back at home. Because some people back at home who I thought were my biggest supporters, not my immediate family, but others within my family, they didn't really believe in me. They were waiting for me to fall. They were so happy that I fell. They wanted their niece to fall. They wanted this girl that they raised to crumble because they didn't like seeing her win. I compared myself a lot to women, other women. I didn't like making many friends. I liked having my 2 friends, and that was it, who have been my friends since like my childhood. But breaking out of that habit, I just saw women as competition because of this relationship. And then I was like, this is so backwards. I am definitely a girl's girl. I am so a girl's girl. And how is it that you're over here comparing yourself to another beautiful woman? This is not right. You're in the wrong place. This person doesn't love you. With the girls, I always found myself constantly comparing myself. It was just always in everything I was doing, I was not enough, or you need to be like that person, or how can you be like that girl to get attention? He's looking at her, so look like her, like carry yourself that way. It's competition everywhere you go.
I think it comes back to the confidence part though, right? Is that if that happens when you don't have the confidence, it breaks you. If you see a beautiful person, that's going back to your family, right? Like when someone wants to see you fall, in my head, I just think it's a reflection of how they feel about themselves.
Insecurities.
Exactly. Is that your success mirrors the fact that they're not successful.
Right.
And so when you're not confident, it breaks you. When you're confident, you can see another beautiful woman go, oh my God, look at her boobs. Like, they're great, right? Like, sorry to stare at your boobs. But like, oh, you got some good jugs there right there.
Thank you.
But like, you can look and go, I admire that.
Yes.
Versus it makes me insecure about how I feel about myself. And that all comes back to your own worth. You even said it, right? Like, I now know my worth.
Yeah.
And I think that it goes so freaking hand in hand.
Yeah, amen to that. I mean, even just in this time of truly loving myself, accepting my figure was so hard for me. I mean, I was in denial that I was going a couple sizes up from what I was used to because I was so, I was depressed and running away from everyone and wanting to be on my own. I noticed my figure was changing. So that caught up to me because of my emotions. So the emotions and the physicality was like, girl, something's wrong. I mean, I almost didn't come back again too, like in the industry because I'm thick. I'm a thicker girl now. I was like, I don't know, I'm a little insecure, like da-da-da. But no, I noticed that that's where my beauty is and that's where my power is embracing my journey. I feel like celebrities, we live in like this yearbook thing where people like compare our lifestyle. They're like, oh my gosh, this person back in 2014 and now, like, look at where they're at now. And I've always had that pressure, but I love that I don't have to use that anymore. I've shut that part of me off where it is a journey. And I want people, I want people to accept that I love me for me, whatever it is, whatever I'm giving, whatever era I'm in. So
what happens if, I assume, or maybe I'm not, maybe I'm incorrect, I don't ever think that always goes away. That every so often that voice tries to seep into your consciousness. What do you do in those moments then when you start to feel that negative idea or voice in your head start to try and tell you otherwise?
I do my best to turn it off by like just lying to myself. Girl, you're beautiful. You look amazing. Like
even if you don't feel it.
To push that down because that morning I felt gorgeous. But then when I walk out later throughout the day, it's wearing off. My confidence starts wearing off. Like, oh my gosh, because of one little thing that didn't sit right with me, it kind of ruined the rest of my day. So I try to remember like how I woke up that morning. Okay, how did you feel that morning? Come back to it. What does it take to go back to that? Listening to a song that could probably bring my confidence back to get through these press days or make sure I feel great about myself regardless. And just, I think that there's power in that, like playing a song or reverting back to that morning of how you woke up, that confidence that you woke up with.
Yeah, I
Find
love
her
that.
again.
Music is so freaking powerful
Oh
to
my
do
gosh.
that. Like, honestly, I've just been listening to your music nonstop, knowing that you were going to come on the show. And it was just like, it really does like pattern interrupt what you might be having right in that moment of the negative thoughts coming in. Because I don't ever think of myself as how do I get to perfect? How do I get to permanently shut off that voice in my head? I've tried for 44 years. It hasn't
never
happened
going
yet.
to,
Exactly.
So that's why I say you just gotta lie to yourself. So
Yeah. But hey, if that works, why not, right?
Yes.
I'm so all about the tactics and tools that we can use in those moments. It's so freaking important for us to then get back to the person we want to be. And I heard recently a definition of integrity. And it was when the voice in your head, the words coming out of your mouth, and your actions all align.
Amen to that. I believe in that.
So I was like, that is really powerful way of
Yes.
thinking. Am I living in integrity? Am I like,
Yes.
because I love having like a North Star. Like when those moments happen, revert back to your North Star. So that like definition of integrity really hit me because I was like, oh, okay, how do I, if I have to lie to myself, at least that's the voice in my head,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, you're beautiful. Okay, what do I say
Say
to
it out
myself when
loud.
I walk past the mirror? Yeah, because the amount of times I didn't even realize, like bad habits that are so ingrained in you, they don't even realize you're doing. The amount of times I would just walk past a mirror without even realizing it and insult myself. And it wasn't until I had a guest on the show, it was like a psychologist, and she's like, just take inventory. So I was like, okay, just for a week. And I was like, oh my God, I'm a bully in my own head.
Right. You are your own monster.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's just a trait that us women have probably. I mean, like I said, we're not feeling enough or feeling beautiful enough or being the ideal beauty in a public eye. I think that's something that we can always a voice that we always have in the back of our head. But the truth in it is to build your confidence and keep that beauty alive is just, I think for me, it's music. It really is what I create. I know that's where my power is. Or even coming across quotes just as I found, like that kind of boosted my confidence just now. It woke me up like, girl, you're in the right place at the right time. Or even speaking to God. During those times when I push God away, being a Latter-day Saint, a church member, there's like a certain way to pray. It's like, dear Heavenly Father, and then you thank him for everything. Then you say what you want. Then you say amen. But then I found my own type of piece of talking to God, singing to him. Like there was a time I was driving in a car and I was like in no man's land by myself with no gas. And I'm like, oh my gosh, where's the next station? Like if I don't find this next station, I am going to end up on this road by myself, asking for help in the middle of nowhere in a desert by myself. Who is going to help me? And I'm just driving. I'm like, please, God, if you can get me here. And I'm just like having fun with it and just talking to God. And what do you know? I got there right on time when it hit. Oh, you only have 2 miles left. Okay. So God got me through those moments and just finding how to communicate to him and having his help in finding my voice and beauty again, or just having that assurance that you're okay. You're more than okay. Get out of your head. Get out of your head. So,
well, your music is just fantastic. I actually wrote down some of your lyrics of one of your songs. Heard it all before because I was like, this is a song I needed when I was younger and in a relationship where I kept going back to the guy who was emotionally abusive to me. And the song's so good. I was like, I don't know what lyrics to pull. Like the whole freaking song is great. But I just pulled some. Said you care for me, but you wasn't there for me. Now you're trying to beg for me, but it's too late for sorries. No ifs, ands, or buts. And if you want a second chance, I doubt it. Don't waste your breath. I'm out of here scouting. Yeah, you the reason that I'm outie. Cause I heard it all before. Can't live without me. Yeah, I heard it all before. Girl, you're all I need. Boy, I heard it all before.
little bitch.
Little bitch, yeah.
That's how I end it. Cause I heard it all before. Can't live without me. Yeah, I heard it all before. Girl, you all I need. Boy, I heard it all before. Save your energy for the next bitch. Cause she just ain't me. You could rap that.
Oh my God. If I wasn't married, I would propose to you right now. Like, I'm just saying. My rendition was not very great. But there's so much power in words. There's so much power in music. And so even you saying, you singing to God, like it made me think about A, how you're building that power within yourself. B, it's your own creative outlet. And then C, it's speaking to someone that you very much look up to as helping you be powerful.
Yes.
And so
That's therapy.
Yeah.
Literally, anytime I walk into the studio, I feel like I always want to create music of something that relates to me or something I'm going through. So I always kept a journal beside me and I was like, okay, what do I feel like talking about? Oh, I forgot that happened to me. I'm really good at burying my emotions and not bringing them back to life. So I heard it all before. It was one of those where I was like, I want to talk about this one relationship where I wasted 3 years on this man that I did not deserve. And It's therapy not only for me, but I notice for the listeners that they also relate to it. Maybe that's why it's so powerful. I mean, I've heard so many times, I heard it all before, is a lot of people's favorite song, men or women. And it's, like I said, like, yeah, it is powerful. So knowing my power, I'm taking that with me and not taking it so lightly that there's messages to carry within your music. And now I have that power because I'm doing this independently. So there are no wrongs. There is no wrong, there are no mistakes I could make. There's no pressure. You could just literally be unabashedly yourself. And if you fall, you fall, girl. You know how to get back up again. I'm not gonna cry about it. I've already been there. Not crying about it. Get back up. And what can I do next?
I think that's so powerful, especially from where we started this interview, where you were saying about, you were 15 and you had no power and you're just listening to everybody. To be able to hear you say that is so freaking amazing.
Thank you.
I really want everyone to let that sink in, that even if they don't believe it's possible, it freaking is.
Oh,
and
most
you've
definitely.
been just such an example of that. And then going back to your craft, I think a lot of us don't necessarily even identify what that was, because that was metaphorically beaten out of us when we were kids. Why are you wasting time with that? So coming from a Greek family, I love to draw. And my dad was just like, are you going to be a doctor? Are you going to be a lawyer? Up until you get married, of course, and then he wants me to retire and just have kids.
Yes.
But it was like, what are you going to do in the meantime? And so the idea of drawing or singing or dancing or some form of expression, we don't necessarily lean into much. And so urging people to just start that again, I think can be really beautiful. And knowing that that was a part of your journey in healing is so empowering. And then you actually said that you journal. Do you still journal?
I did. I started it up again.
So you stopped.
I started up again. I stopped. When I stopped doing music, I also stopped journaling.
Oh, wow.
And if I did journal, it would be 2 days of the year that I would okay, so this is what happened today, or this is what I'm feeling. But then I'm also really good at taking pictures and taking videos. I love living in the moment, but also capturing it. So that's kind of like my journal. And I'm like, oh, that's where I was a year ago, or that's where I was, what happened a few months ago. I feel healed, but I'm still healing from certain things.
I'd actually love to jump in and ask you a question. So you're saying about your journaling. Why is it that when we fall, that's the time we stop doing the things that we actually need? What do you think is happening in those moments where we retreat so much that we stop doing the things that probably need to get out?
I mean, it was eating. I love food. So
But is it then pushing back your emotions? I don't actually want to address them. I don't even want to see them. I don't want to think them, let alone see them and write them. So let me distract myself with food.
yeah, let me distract myself with food, or just be outside and just, drinking was probably not the smart thing to do. Was, that's how I handled my emotions. Just lashing out and just going out and getting drunk and faded. And I felt like that was one way of handling it. And yeah, it probably wasn't the best thing to do, but journaling was a huge thing that I used to do. I used to love updating my journal, little things. I mean, I still have the journal where I drew a VMA, a VMA award in my journal. I was like, one day I'm going to get a VMA awards. And it happened in 2016. So the power of manifestation and just, even just doodling those times, or expressing yourself during those times. And I love journaling now. I love getting in there and updating myself and saying okay, so this happened, or mentioning interviews that I've had, or people that made my day, or something that I saw. I came across someone in need off of the street, and giving them just something, acknowledging those little things. Maybe my kids would love to hear those things one day. Kids, that's not gonna happen for a while, but
well, actually, I'm just curious to ask, what is now on your vision board? So you've already got the VMA. Who needs that anymore? Or maybe you want another one, but what is that now that you feel like you're working towards? And how powerful do you think that is to envision what your future looks like?
I think sustaining that, she's the first Polynesian in this and that, having my own lane. I have so much that I want to build. And I'm building a label for not only myself, but for the next generation. I want to open up those doors for the kids who have dreams. And I want their parents to believe that this is possible. For a girl like me from this little city, Santa Ana, California, and from her families are from Tonga or from the Pacific Islands, if she could dream this big and make it happen, it can happen for any other Polynesian kid. We're just so talented. And I just want to bring that to life more, not only in sports, but in the music field. I've always felt like I was kind of running this alone in the mainstream world for a pop Polynesian girl. And I just hope to only keep inspiring them and open doors for them in my career. I just want to release music that still speaks to me. They feel so timeless to me that I know that it will definitely impact someone else and get them through their journey. There's just so many chapters of my life that I'm embracing within my music. And I just want to build businesses. I know music isn't my only thing. It's not my only niche. There's so much more to me. I love being a businesswoman. I want to own my own things. I want to own my own businesses and run things and be a part of everything. I want to be a part of the process and just build. And whatever that takes, I will do it. So,
Except for lowering your self-worth and dimming your light.
Girl, yes. Say that again. Retweet. I mean, there's just so much that I want to do. Like maybe even still to win a Grammy one of these days and still be a part of history with the greats, the greatest of the greats, and and also release music, still continue to release music that speaks to me, that is real and authentic.
What up, homie? I got something free and new to share with you right now. How often are you visited by that negative voice in your head telling you that you're not smart enough, that you're not good enough, experienced enough, not fill in the blank? One of the most powerful things you can learn to do in life is to turn that negative voice into your bestie. And I want to teach you how to do that and so much more in my 4 steps to becoming confident workshop. And guys, the most amazing thing is you can actually register for completely free for this workshop. So click the link on your screen and I'll see you on the inside. I love it. And then being the example, because there's a younger you out there right now, not feeling like she's worthy, not feeling like she's got a voice, not feeling like she can speak up. And it is very hard.
It was also my sister. I have a younger sister, so I felt like I saw a piece of myself in her. So I was like, I need to break this habit that's going on in our household so that it doesn't affect her. I didn't want it to cripple her. May it only cripple me. Being the oldest, we're breaking these generational curses. But I'm in that place now where she understands that, like, now she has the freedom now to just be unabashedly herself. And say out loud what her dreams are and aspirations are, and nothing's wrong. So I love this place that I'm at. Like you said, there's another girl, a little younger girl version of me out there somewhere. And I just hope through me speaking about my journey that it definitely not only helps her, but helps the women in her life who are her leaders right now, that they understand her in a different lens, their daughter through a different lens.
Yeah, so girl, this has been such a freaking pleasure to talk to you. Where can people find you and all the amazing music that you're doing and like following up on? Because we're all going to be tracking now that you said what you're going to be up to. So
you can just find me anywhere. It's Dinah Jane, DINAHJANE, on all platforms. I'm not that hard to find.
Keep watching to learn how to set boundaries and stand up for yourself when someone disrespects you. The key to success is the ability to rise from failure. Success is someone that can rise again and again and get stronger each time. It took me many times to learn that lesson, but by gosh, I'm glad I didn't give up.
Absolutely, I love that.
So when you say, I'm glad I didn't give up, as you keep falling and you keep getting up, right? You've already expressed that, like, look, it becomes easier because you realize it doesn't define you. You can keep getting up, you can keep getting better if you're the student. Was it the fact that you were so in love with your profession? Was it that you were so in love with playing the violin? You had something that every day got you to focus on, and that allowed you to say, I'm so glad, like, keep going, keep going. Because again, I'm trying to think about that person at home right now of like having a North Star for me, and I call it my North Star. Having a North Star gets me up every day. It gets me to say, Lisa, you feel badly about yourself today, but that's okay, because one day you're going to get to here. You're going to help that 14-year-old girl that doesn't feel good about herself. That's my North Star. So every day when I don't feel good, I just say, but I have such a freaking strong North Star that no shit talking in my own head is ever going to get in my way of me showing up every day for that 14-year-old girl. So when I think about the craft, your art, your performance, it is music, but I've seen how you've impacted young girls, like how you've, just what you do really has like this massive knock-on effect from young girls to other women to other people that can now believe that it's possible. Okay, so is it the fact that you have such a strong North Star that's allowed you to keep pushing forward to then finally get to I'm glad I didn't give up?
I think I've always had a pretty strong North Star, and it's a combination of like, I love what I do. I love, it comes to me as storytelling. I love getting to like make a beginning, middle, end of a song, of a music video, of a show. I was born to entertain from the time I was tiny. I've always wanted to like tell a joke or make people laugh or play my violin. Like, I just love entertaining. So that's been a huge North Star for me. But I think the biggest North Star is kind of like almost what you were just saying. If I decided early on, right as I started to see that things were becoming successful, I was like, I want to be a light in this world. I want to share hope. I want to share happiness. And I always try to do that through my music, like have motifs and metaphors and things that hopefully will encourage people to like believe in themselves a little bit more. When someone leaves a show, I always hope that, of course, they're thoroughly entertained, but I almost more so, I want them to leave with that buzzy feeling that I've felt at certain shows where they're like, I can do anything I want. That thing that I've wanted to do, I can do. And so just being that for people has always been a huge part of my North Star. And especially I was just overcoming anorexia when I first really started to like take off. And I remember thinking like, I don't want to shy away from this topic because I feel like that's a way I can be a light. Like I've always had these little things that were my light to share, and my music is my mode to share it. And I think you're so right that as long as you've got the why behind what you do, like why do I do this? Well, I love to entertain and I love to uplift. Then it kind of makes those days, because even now, some days I'm like, this is really hard and I do not feel like practicing today. Or maybe I'm going through a time when I'm just a little depressed, like it happens. And I'm like, I have no motivation right now. Well, I can get up and I can play my violin for 20 minutes right now. I can practice 20 minutes. Got it. Okay, for the why. So it's all about the why for me.
So you just said when you have like moments of depression, how do you deal with those moments? And obviously you just shared one tip, which is amazing. Because when people are going through it, it does feel like all hope is lost. Mm-hmm. And you talk very eloquently about hope and about like having the hope that, you're going to get there and you're going to do it. And hope can really take us through so many tough times. And depression is one of those things, especially these days, where it's becoming more and more prominent. Do you have any moments like that now? And if so, what are those steps that maybe people can take right now? I know that you say you journal, things like that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like mental health is such a wave. It's not like I got through anorexia and depression and then I'm like, I made it through. And occasionally I have but it's more like, for some reason, sometimes you're having a hard time and there's not even a reason why. And again, for me, then I'm like, well, if there's not even a reason why, I feel super ungrateful. And then that feeds my depression even more because I'm like, there's no reason I should be sad. I have everything I should have to be happy, but I am depressed. And so when I go through those little stints, I've just learned to see them as like, you know what? This is a little phase. It's a little bump. And that doesn't mean it's going to last forever. It could be a day, could be a week. Who knows? It might be a really rough month. And there doesn't always have to be a why. It just is the way it is. And giving myself permission to say, this is a rough time for now. And I need to like let myself have that. But at the same time, I do, especially when I'm going through times like that, journal and just like almost free write and express maybe, why I'm feeling this way. What am I feeling? And even if there is no why, just like expressing what it is and like maybe telling myself I'm choosing to let go of this. I'm choosing to let go of not being enough, and like writing that out to like just kind of connect those wires in my brain. I'm such a big believer in like doing whatever you can to create the thought pattern you want to believe until you believe it. That's a big thing for me. And just like I said, I've really adopted the mantra of like, I showed up today. And that sometimes is enough. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. And the perfect example is like when I have had to like prepare for a tour, but I'm maybe going through a tough time. It's like, well, I can do anything for 20 minutes. I can practice that routine for 20 minutes. Then I'll take a break. Then I can practice it 20 minutes later. Like doing things in small bite sizes. So it's not like, but I have to practice and learn this entire routine today. It's like, well, let's just focus on like doing it for 20 minutes. And then maybe I'll call a friend. And then when I have a little bit more energy, I'm going to do it again. You know, just really bite-sizing it down. And I think just giving yourself permission, though, is the biggest thing.
I literally was about to use that phrase that you said. It hit me very hard. And it's funny how a lot of us, I've heard this a lot now, and I say it too, girl, giving ourselves permission, even in just saying it, is so freeing.
Yeah.
Like, I almost think, like, if someone could sit right now, because I love thinking in real time about strategies. So, like, if someone could sit in real time and be like, what are all the things I'm struggling with? And now just right next to it, I'd give myself permission.
Yeah.
Like, how much of a change that would do to our mindset. Because, again, you've said it before, right? It's like, thoughts are just thoughts. It's like when you think about, like, it being, our brain is in a black box. Right? It's taking signals from our eyes, from our nose, from what we hear, right? What we smell, what we see, and it's interpreting it and making up a story.
Absolutely.
And so by whatever story we're telling ourselves, we can change that story. If we think that we're not good enough, you can then say, I am. What am I good enough in? And then, or say, not yet. Or say, I give myself freaking permission.
Right. And like, you know, and it's funny, you just kind of figure out what is it that you're feeling, give yourself permission to feel it, and then say, like, where do we want to go? Like, you know, just last night I was journaling because I have been just having a little bit of a funk the last few weeks. And I, again, telling myself, that's okay. And maybe even delving into, like, it could be a little bit triggered because of this. Okay, I'm going to give myself permission to feel that. And then also saying, like, I'm going to surrender. I'm going to surrender this need that I feel like to be perfect and to be on top of everything and to, like, you know, I'm going to surrender that and realize I can't control everything. And right today, that's where I'm at, and that's okay. Close the journal. Oh, and then add in there, and I'm grateful for these 3 things that happened today. These were 3 great things that happened, even though it wasn't a great day. Like, finding ways to look at the positive, but also not, like, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person just because you're having a hard time being full of happiness and gratitude. Like, even though, like, there's so much worse happening in the world, and nowadays we're like, oh, these are such first world problems that I'm dealing with. Sure, realize that, but also it's your life, and that's hard for you right now. So that's okay if you're feeling sad about it or if it's causing you to be discouraged.
Oh my God, I love that you said that, because I think we minimize the things that we're going through by comparing them to other things.
Totally.
And that is the thing that I think is the problem with us right now, right? Where it's like we don't feel the right to feel bad about what we're going through, and now we don't feel the right, so now we feel even more shame. It spirals. And then, you know, mental health is the most important thing that all of us can focus on, in my opinion, because that then dictates who we are, how we show up, how we treat other people, the types of relationships we have, our career, all of that. And so if we don't focus on our mental health, then we're not able to then do all these other things over here. And so by comparing ourselves to other people, I think diminishes what we're going through.
Yeah.
I think it lessens the weight of what we're going through, and I don't think it serves us by diminishing it. And it's interesting, I would love to talk to you about gratitude, because I've got a love-hate relationship with gratitude.
Ooh.
So I was a stay-at-home wife.
Tell me more.
Before we started Quest Nutrition, I was a stay-at-home wife for 8 years.
Yeah.
And I was supporting my husband. I was cooking, I was cleaning, I was putting clothes out for him. And every day I absolutely hated it. I went to film school, I wanted to be a filmmaker. I had no desires or dreams to be a stay-at-home wife. And again, that is no slight on anyone. It wasn't my dream.
Yours, yeah.
So every day I didn't feel like I was aligned with who I wanted to be. And every day, the first couple of years, I was like, be so grateful, Lisa. You have a husband that loves you more than life itself. How lucky are you to have this? Other people don't. And then year 2, it was like, oh my God, I hate my life, I'm miserable. But how grateful are you to have a roof over your head, because other people don't have a roof over your head. And so this became a self-soothing way of every day I would show up, hate my life, and self-soothe with gratitude to ease the pain that I was going through.
Yeah.
And what it led to was 8 years of profound happiness, because I ended up using the gratitude piece to keep me exactly where I was. And that voice in my head was going from, you know, no, you're grateful, to how ungrateful are you? You want another life? You want a different life? When you have a husband that loves you, how ungrateful are you? And so the gratitude piece, I almost want to be very careful on, because it can be so damn powerful, to your point, when you're having a hard day.
Right.
reorienting to how beautiful life can be, but also being aware
Yeah.
of the fact that it may hold us back for asking for more.
I have been thinking about this a lot lately.
Have you?
Yes, the difference between being grateful for where you're at and being okay with knowing that you want more is such a fine line. And I remember I came to this realization recently where I was like, oh my gosh, I got to a point in my career where I was like, no, I don't want, like, I don't need a Grammy and I don't even want it, or I don't need to grow my craft anymore. That's like selfish of me to like think that I should get more in this industry. I should just be grateful. But I think they're two totally separate things. And you can dream, you can want more, you can work towards it, and you can like know that you're missing something in your life while knowing still that you have everything over here in your life. Like you can have both, and one doesn't have to affect the other, even though like you said, it's really hard to almost feel like gratitude is a Band-Aid, but it doesn't have to be. And I do a gratitude journal, and it was kind of a life-changing experience for me to like write in this gratitude journal, just the simplicity of 3 things every night. I noticed how it did start to make my brain trained basically to look for the good in life. It didn't mean that I didn't see the things that were bad, but it meant that I was just by every day thinking, what are the things today I was grateful for? Finding them, writing them down, feeling a moment for them. Good. It's like it trained my mind throughout the day to like be looking for those things, because it knew every night subconsciously I'm going to have to try to find those. And so I think there's so much power in gratitude, but I think you bring up a really good point that it shouldn't be a Band-Aid for like the things that you are unsatisfied with that you can change.
Because I've heard you say you get what you focus on.
Absolutely.
And so if you're focused on like, no, my life is fine, like I'm so grateful for this, well, you're never going to focus on what else can I do? How do I
Right.
better? How do I go for that dream or that goal or the person I want to be, the skill set, like whatever
Yeah.
it is? How do you propel yourself forward if you're always soothing yourself that where you are is fine? Now, look, I'm the pious person that holds 2 competing ideas in my head at the same time because I find them very powerful.
Yeah.
I love my life. I wouldn't change a thing. And yet I'm unhappy with my life and I want to change everything. Like, but that's what freaking
So
drives
cool.
me is that I
Yeah.
go to bed every night very content. I put my head on my husband's shoulder. I'm happy as can be because I'll burn my business to the ground. My husband is my North Star ultimately. So I know that. I'm very clear of that. He knows that. He's very clear on that. But I wake up every day saying, what are you going to do today, Lisa? You said you want to help that 14-year-old girl. You better show up and help that 14-year-old girl. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't think it has to be either or, but I
yeah.
think that most people lean into have gratitude as the most beautiful thing. And they're not necessarily looking at the possibility that it's trapping you into, but I'm happy here, so I should be happy in the rest of my life.
Yeah. No, that's a really good, very powerful point. And like so much of life is about polarity. You know, we're told to like work hard and chase our dreams, but also enjoy life and take time for yourself and self-care. You know, so it's like there's always these competing things of like, well, how much do I relax and take care of myself, and how much do I become a workhorse where I like don't sleep? Like, you know, so life is about just finding the balance between very conflicting ideas and making them match each other so that you do become a balanced person who's like hardworking and wants more, but also is so grateful. Like, I think that's a really powerful point, and I've never thought about that with gratitude in that way. So that's cool.
Thank you. I'd love to talk to you about matters of the heart.
Ooh.
Because I think someone's like, your videos are fucking epic, homie. Like you are just glowing in so many beautiful ways and impacting the world that I'm sure going to this, like, have everything. I would love to talk to you about relationships because I've never really heard you speak about relationships. So
Yeah.
are you in a relationship? And then what are you willing to share? Because again, I think I'd love to know, is that important to you? Are you actually focusing on it? I have so many questions.
Yes. Yeah, I actually don't get asked much about relationships, probably because I guess I also don't write about relationships. My music is all more like, you know, whimsical and magical. I very rarely have ever written a song about love. So that's probably why no one ever asks me about it. But it's always been one of the most important things to me. And I guess I definitely put it to the side when I was like chasing my career. I would say that first, like, you know, 5 years of my career, I worked so freaking hard. I didn't have time for really much anything else in my life, definitely not a relationship. But, you know, aside from that, like, I've always wanted a family. I've always known I'm a life partner type of person. And although I'm single right now, I'm not dating anybody right now, but it's definitely something that I guess I say I focus on it in terms of like I manifest it. I put energy into it. I journal about it. Like I try to put it into my thoughts of like putting it into the world and hoping that that comes back to me when the time is right. You know, and but yeah, dating is really hard. And I think for anyone in this day and age, you know, living in LA, I think makes it a little bit more tricky possibly, but it's something that's so important to me. And I really do. I'm like, I want to have kids. I want to have a family. And it's always been something that I want. And I go back and forth between reminding myself that like, you know, the path I've chosen has probably made it a little bit more difficult for me to find that husband. And even though that is hard for me to swallow sometimes, I'm like, but if I could do it all again, I would choose the same things. And although I balance between like, I really think I will find that person and I hope I will, I want that, but also reminding myself that like, if I never did, that doesn't mean I can't still live a full, happy, fulfilled life. And it kind of comes back to like bloom where you're planted. I have like amazing nieces and nephews who I love so much. And I've decided to like prioritize like, okay, well, so if I don't have my own family, like for my birthday this year, I went and stayed with my sister, the same sister that I roomed with in college, and her little kids, because I just wanted to be with family. And it's like, okay, if I don't have my own family to invest in right now and my own kids to raise, I'm going to relish in the fact that I have my sister's kids as my nieces and nephews and really put attention and time into those relationships because I can either focus on what I don't have or I can really bloom where I'm planted and realize I have a rich, full life, and I still think that other part will come when it's time.
Have you ever gone through heartbreak?
I have. And I definitely think those last with us. You know, I've gone through several breakups that were really hard. I think the hardest one for me was, and I really actually never talked about this before publicly, but my keyboard player, who was my best friend, and he was my first keyboard player ever. We toured the world together for like 3.5 years, just became so close, and he was my best friend. But I loved him dearly. Like I never even told him that because I always thought, you know, when the time is right, like, you know, but I always kind of thought we would end up together, and he passed away. And it was just, I don't know how you recover from that, you know, and it's been years and I miss him dearly. But I think that's almost kind of in a way what I'm waiting for is someone who makes me feel that same way that he made me feel, which I just haven't found since. And I know that every relationship is different, but certain people they bring out your sparkle. And so it's almost like this blessing and a curse because I'm like, I know what I can feel. And now it makes it so that you can't accept less than what you know you have the capacity to feel.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I've heard that, you know, he'd passed away. I didn't realize, you know, you obviously sharing that you felt the love really kind of almost makes that story even more heartbreaking. And that was going to be my second thing. It's like, how do you not settle? Because a lot of women do settle for either abusive relationships or relationships that, you know, maybe are trying to fill their cup because they need that validation, but actually they're not in love with them. Like so many people end up settling in relationships that aren't right for them. And being, I think, a strong, powerful woman also means being able to not go with the people that are going to bring them down or change them for the negative or try to be destructive or toxic, but to wait for that person that is right for them. Do you then think that, like, I know what love feels like, and so I'm not going to accept anything less?
Absolutely. I think that's why honestly, that's probably why I'm still single. But at the same time, it's like I've waited for 35 years at this point. I'm not going to settle for anything less than what I felt before. But also, you think about the people that you love to be around in your life that do make you feel great, like my sisters or, my best friends. And it's like, why would I settle for less in my partner relationship, the most important relationship of my life, with someone who doesn't make me feel as good and as fulfilled as, like, and obviously every relationship has its own version and its own place, but like, you know, you should expect the same from a partner, more so even than with the other relationships that fulfill you that you've gotten to choose in your life. And so, you know, and I've been through, in a way, like I've been through an abusive relationship before. And I remember my sister, when I finally confided in her what was happening, and like I made the choice that I was done. And I remember her just being like, you know, it's crazy because you always hear about people who go through emotional or abusive relationships of some kind, and you just think, why would they put up with that? Like, how could they not be strong enough to stand up for themselves? And she mentioned that, like, I see you as one of the most strong women in the world. Like, you're successful, you're talented, you're smart, you're brilliant. Like, you know, this is my sister talking to me, and she says, it just is really eye-opening to see that that could even happen to you. It can happen to anybody, and it doesn't need to make you feel weak. It definitely made me feel weak when I realized, like, oh my gosh, I've been in an abusive relationship and I've been choosing this, and you know, and the courage it took to leave. But like, it doesn't mean you're weak. It happens slowly, and it can happen to anybody. So it gave me a lot of empathy for women and a lot of understanding. But also, at the end of the day, I am so grateful for the loving relationships in my life that made me check myself. And even though he told me what was happening was normal, for me to be like, but that isn't normal. You know, and being able to confide in my sister and tell her something that happened, and for her to say, again, just like my anorexia, Linz, that's not normal, and that is not okay for someone to do that. Like,
do you mind sharing it? Obviously, I don't want to. If it's
I mean, it wasn't an abusive physical relationship, but it was very verbally and emotionally like manipulative and he was, you know, a narcissist, like fully, and the yelling and screaming, you know, like he would yell. If we got in an argument, it would turn into him yelling at me for an hour, just calling me names, like degrading me, you know. And I remember when I asked my sister one day, I just said, you know, does your husband ever yell at you? And she, you know, she was like, well, there was one time he raised his voice, but he apologized, you know. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this happens to me on the weekly, maybe daily. Like, what? You know, but it had happened so slowly that you start to think it's, you know, and he would tell me, couples fight, Linz, this happens. It's what couples do, you know, but no, that's not normal, you know, and like kind of regaining that sense of normalcy, you know, thankfully saved me to realize I don't want to spend the rest of my life being yelled at.
How did you then get the strength to leave? Because as you were saying it, right, like I started to believe that I was weak.
Yeah.
And I think that that's also the big part where some people find that, okay, I've now recognized this isn't normal, this isn't a healthy relationship, but they don't have the confidence or the courage, or they don't think they're strong enough to then make those steps. Because let's face it, sadly, and I've been in one of these manipulative relationships before my husband, was that, you know, you'll never find someone that's going to love you as much as I love you. And then you're like, oh shit, what if I don't? Am I going to be alone for the rest of, like, the 16-year-old girl that was insecure thought that.
Well, also, I was in my 30s at the time, so it was like, maybe I won't find someone else. Like, and I remember he would always tell me, like, your life is hard, Lindsay, you know, and like, I put up with it. And I finally realized, like, my life is wonderful. And I've worked really hard for my life. Like, I have it might not be for everyone. It might be hard for certain people to deal with, the like kind of schedule I lead. And sure, it's not maybe the average life, but at the same time, I'll find someone who loves my life, and I deserve that. Like, finally, those light bulbs started to go on that, like, yeah, what you're saying is true for you. You put up with my life, but that doesn't mean someone else has to put up with my life. Yeah, you know, and also it kind of came down to the fact of like how unhappy I was in this relationship, and realizing if I'm alone for the rest of my life, it would be better than this. And I remember a very key moment for me was I remember we went to the Jimmy Kimmel show. It was my first time doing his show. Big bucket list. I was so excited. And he got upset at me backstage. And in my little dressing room, he closed the door and yelled at me for a while. And it ruined that memory. I remember going on to Jimmy Kimmel, like literally wiping tears away, like smiling and just playing. And then afterwards, like, he had left, and I went home by myself. He took our car, and I didn't, you know, I had to take an Uber home from Jimmy Kimmel by myself. And just being so like, you know, and then I shortly after that was about to go on Dancing with the Stars, and he asked me, do I get to come backstage with you and hang out? And I thought to myself, I don't want you backstage. And it was like such a awakening moment of like remembering what had happened at Kimmel and so many other experiences that he had ruined that were special to me, and realizing if I don't want my person backing me up in these really stressful situations, what the heck do I have him around for? Like, if that's my first thought is like, what if you get mad at me back there? And that's when we broke up. I was like, I deserve a life with a partner that supports me, or I deserve to freaking live on my own.
Hell yeah, homie. Dude, that's so damn powerful. And as you were saying, I was like, oh, it was a total power play on his part. As you were saying, like, he did that a lot with I can't remember the exact words you just used, but it was something like he did that a lot with a lot of the happy memories or the happy moments. And just in having done a lot of interviews with therapists in full relationship, that's the power play, right? Where it's like in these moments where the spotlight is on you, the insecure narcissist has to impact that. There's no way a narcissist will ever let the spotlight be on you.
Right.
And so making it about the argument taking the car is all very deliberate acts of a narcissist trying to take your power away. And so many, and again, like just so many women suffer from this, have these issues where they're with somebody where they feel like they can't get out. And you'd said it earlier, which was, it just hit me so hard, where you said, like your sister saw you as being strong, and this, just because you're in a bad relationship, guys, it doesn't mean that you're freaking weak.
Doesn't mean that at all.
It doesn't mean that you're weak.
It can literally happen to anybody. And it also means that you are, like, I was trying to fight for love. I was trying to be, that's pretty strong. I finally realized that it wasn't worth fighting for. But, it doesn't mean that, I love that you said, it doesn't mean that you're weak. And I just, it's like, we all want to be loved so badly that we'll almost do anything to be loved, include putting up with unhappiness, like being unhappy in a relationship because you want to be loved. But it's like, there are other relationships that can fulfill you outside of being in a romantic one or having that partner, that committed life partner. Like I said, my sisters, my friends, like by not being in that toxic relationship, I was able to lean more into my friends and fulfill myself in that way. And so even right now, I'm single, but I still have wonderful relationships that make me feel full and a lush life. And so if you feel this thought of like, well, I'll never be loved again, like what, I am in my mid-30s, maybe I won't find a life partner. Well, who the heck cares? Because I was so unhappy. Like, just remember that the ultimate goal that we're all searching for is we want to be happy. And we get so caught up in the weeds of whether it's being anorexic and counting calories or whether it's like being in a toxic relationship, because we think that's all going to lead us to happiness. But at the end of the day, usually you're so unhappy when you get lost in the weeds like that. There are other ways to feel loved.
Click here right now to learn how to gain respect, speak up, set boundaries, and hold your freaking ground.
Whenever I'm like in a dark, those moments where you're like, everything's terrible. This is not working out. Why do I quickly remind myself